Today, it's all about the mothers. Well, almost. It's also about nations and nuts. Shalom and welcome back to Hebrew Vocab Boost. I'm Sapir and today I'm talking about the root Alef Mem Mem, which is the root of words that mean mother and also nation and nut. Now, I did try to look this up in my biblical corpus, but because the word M itself is just an Aleph and a Mem, it came back with so many words, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of words, most of which were not even related. So I just had to give that up because there are not enough hours in the week. All right, let's start with the mother of all words in this shoresh, M. It means mother, and it means mother in a literal sense, but it can also be very figurative, as in the original source of something. And this is the word that is used to mean mother in all of the Hebrew parts of the Tanakh. This word has two possible plurals, which are imahot and imot. And Pealim.com says that imahot is the regular plural and imot is the construct, the smichut form of the plural. So it means more like mothers of something. But the Academia says that both can be used in both ways. Imahot and imot can both be the absolutive or they can be the construct form. Of course, the Academia is the final authority, but I have never actually heard imot out in the wild. I've always heard imahot. And neither of these plurals shows up in the Tanakh at all. So we can add the pronominal nu ending to the end of M. It becomes imenu. And we add this to the four matriarchs of the Bible as an honorific. So we will say, we can add it to Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, and Rachel. And say Sarah imenu, Rivka imenu, Leah imenu, Rachel imenu. And this is kind of a sign of respect, but it also, so like in English, we would say Sarah of the Bible or Sarah, Abraham's wife. But in Hebrew, you can just say Sarah imenu, and it's clear which Sarah we're talking about. Ima is a word that shows up in the Tanakh, meaning mom or mother. But this is a word that was borrowed from Aramaic, and so this is going to show up in the Aramaic sections. So there's 7 instances of Ima in Daniel and 1 in Ezra. The traditional spelling is without the yod, so just Alef Mem Alef. And until 2019, that is the only way I ever saw it written. But my Ulpan always spells it with the yod, and the Academia does say that this is the proper way to spell it if you're writing without nikud. Now, I normally never go against the Academia. In my mind, what they say goes, but I can't get myself to write Ima with a yod. To me, it was like the third word that I learned in Hebrew. I was 7 years old. It was Alef Mem Alef, and that is stuck in my brain. Sorry, Academia, that is never going to be spelled by me with a yod. Now, I often see this word translated as mommy in English, but it really, in English, mommy is something that only little kids call their mom, or sometimes we'll say mommy, right, when we're joking about being scared. An adult, from basically the teenage years on, will never say mommy. They always call their mom. And so that's how Ima is. Although Ima basically is also what little kids call their mom. So Ima works all throughout your life. And this is also the way we talk about our mom. So if I want to say something like my mom or my mother is a computer programmer, I say Ima sheli metachnetet machshavim. And that is a true story. Hi, Mom. I tried to look to see if there were other parts of speech that used this shoresh with respect to the meaning of mom. I found Google Translate had a verb to mother, but it wasn't in the academia and I didn't see it anywhere else, so I'm not going to include it here. I think really the vast majority of the uses are going to involve compound words. So we'll talk about that now. So the first compound word is embait, and literally it means mother of the house. And it was a little difficult to narrow down what actually this person is, but I got help from one of my consultants, and she said it's a woman who's basically in charge of a place where there are kids. So either a boarding school or an orphanage. So I think it's maybe, like, especially with respect to a boarding school, maybe it's the headmistress, or I'm not sure. It's just it's always a woman, obviously, if it's got the word M, and then it's somebody who's in charge of a place with kids. Em haderech, derech means like a way or a path, and so em haderech is a crossroads, but not a literal intersection. It's really more like a situation or a time in your life where you have to make a big decision and you're at a crossroads. Em hachita, chita means wheat, and so em hachita is an actual specific species of wheat that grows in Israel. Em hamargalit or em hapnina both mean mother of pearl. My consultant didn't exactly know what this was. She could tell that it had something to do with jewelry, but she actually, it seems she doesn't know what mother of pearl is. Margalit by itself can mean any old gem. It's not necessarily specific, but it also can get translated to mean pearl. And the academia says that Margalit, it gives a definition, but always in Hebrew, and it says it means dar. I went to the Wikipedia page for mother of pearl, and then I scrolled down and got the Hebrew version of that Wikipedia page, and the title of that page is dar. And that same Wikipedia page says that dar can also be called em hapnina, and pnina means pearl, so mother of pearl. So it's all starting to make sense. So either one, em hamargalit or em hapnina. Em choreget and em shluva are two ways of saying a stepmother. I've only heard em choreget in the wild. And then we have em kriya, and the plural is imot kriya. And this is a very specific term that refers to the Hebrew alphabet situation. And it means one of the four letters that actually serves as a vowel. And I'm sure you probably know that all of the letters in Hebrew are basically consonants. They all have some kind of a consonantal form, but there are these four letters, Aleph, He, Vav, and Yud, that can also indicate a vowel sound instead of whatever the regular consonant sound is. And in fact, there's at least one, but maybe two, depending on how you spell it, in the word ima. So if you spell ima with a yud, then that yud, what is it doing there? There's no Y sound anywhere in ima, but it is there to indicate the E sound of ima. So in that sense, it's an em kriya. But also the aleph, no matter how you spell it, there's that aleph there at the very end. Not the first one, the last one. So aleph often is called a silent letter, and it can be completely silent, but it also often sounds like a glottal stop. But again, that's not what it's doing at the end of the word ima. We don't say ima, with a glottal stop at the end. It's just ima. It's just standing for that ah vowel. And so it's an em kliya. Now, irvaem or irvaem b'Yisrael it's a really interesting term. I'm not quite sure how it would get used, but it refers to any city in Israel, particularly a big city and maybe particularly a Jewish city. But I asked my consultant about it, and she was like, oh yeah, she said it's because the city that you grew up in is like your mother. And so, like, it took care of you when you were a child. I don't know. I'm not quite sure, how to use it in a sentence, but there it is. And then Sfat Em is someone's native language, their mother tongue. And if they are a native speaker, then they are a Dover Sfat Em, or if it's a woman, it's a Doveret Sfat Em. And so that is a native speaker of whatever language. So I can say, Ani medaberet ivrit, aval ani lo doveret sfat em. I speak Hebrew, but I am not a native speaker. It's spelled with a cholam chaser, but we do put the vav when we are writing without nikud. The academia says it can mean a nation or a nut, like a little metal thing that a bolt can screw into. Now, my consultant said there is no way that Om means nation. She has only ever heard it to mean nut. But the academia says it also means nation. Uma is another word that means nation, and I have never heard this one out in the wild except for the next phrase that I'm about to mention, but my consultant says it's a pretty common word to mean a nation. All right, and here we are with this phrase, Ha'umot ha'meuchadot. It means the United Nations, but I rarely see it written that way. I always see it written Ha'um, right here at the bottom. We put the gershayim between the last and the second to last letters to indicate that this is an acronym, and it's pronounced and it's like saying the UN. Chasid umot ha'olam, this is a really, really special phrase, and I have heard it out and about. Chasid is a hard word to pin down its exact meaning, but it's like a righteous person or a pious person. And umot ha'olam, this is a smichut. It means, actually the whole thing, it's a triple smichut. And umot ha'olam means the nations of the world. And so this is basically saying that this is a pious or righteous person who is not a Jewish person. They're a person of another nation in the world. And this is a word that we give. It's not a title. This is just a phrase that we will say about any person who is not Jewish but has been particularly helpful to Jews or to the Jewish people as a whole, or maybe a specific group. And you hear it a lot with people who were not Jewish but were around during the Holocaust and really went out of their way to help Jews either survive or communicate or something. So if they hid a lot of Jews in their home, or if they helped them escape, or they passed messages along, however it was that they did at their own risk. So we call them Chasid Umot Ha'olam, and that's just a really special term. If you ever hear anybody call somebody that, that's somebody that we have a lot of respect for, because they helped us when the rest of the world went crazy, and so we're, endlessly thankful for people like that. And of course there is Yom Ha'em, which is Mother's Day. In Israel, they celebrate Mother's Day around Hanukkah time. But here in the United States, it is today. And so I say to my own mom, and to all the moms, and to all the basically just adult women. Even if you're not a mom, you have a positive impact on somebody's life, and so you deserve thanks too. So happy Mother's Day, Yom Ha'em Sameach. As always, if you have any questions or feedback, leave it in the comments and I will do my best to get back to you. Hit like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to see more. Lehitraot papa ama ba'az. See you next time.